the Honourable Campbell Newman MP to address us.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a terrific day, isn't it? It's just fantastic to be in these wonderful South Bank parklands, and it is a delight to be here on a very important, these are their traditional lands. It's right and proper that we do that on these occasions. Can I acknowledge the Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress, and to the Brisbane City councillors are here, my former colleagues. Particularly, I need to acknowledge our guest of honour, Sir Llew Edwards and Lady Jane. Great to see you here this morning. Can I also acknowledge Jane's colleagues, the Consular Corps here in Queensland. But we're particularly honoured here this morning to have His Excellency the High Commissioner for Sri Lanka, who has joined us. It's great to see you here this morning, sir. But to you, ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome this morning. Well, we're here today to celebrate as one of those critical turning points in the history of this city and the history of this state, where Brisbane particularly came of age. And I'm of course referring to Expo 88. And we all have the most amazing memories of that period of months, starting off 25 years ago in April 1988. I share with you this morning, I had a somewhat more exotic location. I was on an army reconnaissance of the easternmost province, Tunutu province of the Solomon Islands, on a tiny coral island 750 kilometres east of Guadalcanal, right out in the middle of nowhere, listening to the whole opening ceremony on a shortwave radio, and I can well remember the signal sort of going strong and fading out and strong and fading out. And there was the description of all these goings on the Brisbane River. I was a long way away, but I certainly, with my team of colleagues on this very small party out in the middle of nowhere, weren't missing the action. So I can vividly remember that. And I also, of course, vividly remember the trips that I had to Expo, because at the time the Army had sent me down to Sydney, away from the place I'd fallen in love with, and I was to return a couple of years later, never to leave. But I remember very vividly coming and enjoying all the fun of Expo 88, and we all have so many memories, and that's particularly what we are doing today. But before we get into those celebrations, we're of course here to particularly acknowledge the people, and particularly the man who led those efforts to create Expo 88. Today I pay tribute, and we all pay tribute, to the leadership of Sir Llew Edwards and the Expo Authority, who for a period of 8 years were charged with the important, indeed critical responsibility of planning an event that was ultimately to see 18 million visitors during that period in 1988 come here. And that was indeed the population of Australia back in those days. So the painstaking work, go around the world, see the best of previous events, to pull it all together, the choreographing of the whole series of entertainment and events, so that the thing kept renewing over the period of those months. The logistics involved in doing all that. And so many great things came of it. If you reflect on Brisbane pre-Sally Ann Atkinson and pre-Expo 88, you weren't allowed to actually sit out there and enjoy outdoor dining, because that had been banned for so many years. It was considered to be unhealthy and improper in a subtropical city. And we would marvel at that today, especially in these wonderful surroundings where so much vitality and such a great lifestyle is enjoyed all the time. So again, I just say that Expo 88 truly was a turning point for Brisbane, and it was something that touched so many lives in this city and set us on a new path to where, in the last few years, the Lord Mayor and his team particularly successfully rebranded this as Australia's New World City. You can lay that all back to 1988 and Expo 88. I want to thank Sir Llew and his team today. That's particularly what we're here to do. The outstanding leadership, the commitment, the single-minded purpose, that 8-year period is what truly led to an outstanding event for the city of Brisbane. And I know that Sir Llew has been recognised before in 2010 as a Queensland great. But today, I think, on the 25th anniversary, it is just so vitally important, we particularly in this small but important ceremony, acknowledge his great leadership and the leadership of the authority for the people of Brisbane and the people of Queensland. So on behalf of the state today, Sir Llew, thank you so much for your efforts. We greatly appreciate what you and your team did for this state. Thank you indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Racer here from Foundation Expo at YouTube, and we're in Adelaide doing a series of special YouTubes, and this afternoon it is my great pleasure to introduce everyone to Greg Johns. And Greg has done that wonderful piece in Brisbane at the Roma Street Gardens called Continuous Division. And we're doing a series of YouTubes, and the first one I thought we'd talk about, because that is a fairly large and major piece. And Greg, if you can just tell us just where it sits in amongst the size.